Welcome to Fox Soul's Black Report, your daily source for Black news, views, and opinions. Today is Monday, November 21st, and I'm Mimi Brown.
And I'm Romeo.
I'm Demi Lobo. And on today's report, we begin with the news on WNBA star Brittney Griner, who began her 9-year prison sentence. We'll tell you what the basketball star's lawyers say Griner is currently experiencing while detained. Meanwhile, funeral services were held over the weekend for Shanquella Robinson, the young lady who was killed while on vacation with a group of her friends, what the results of an autopsy report revealed. Then, thousands of friends and family also gathered for 3 University of Virginia students who were fatally shot on campus. Was the attack targeted? We have the story.
Plus, basketball star Kyrie Irving continues to prove he is not anti-Semitic as he returns to the Nets after a 2-week suspension. And is Mariah Carey the queen of Christmas? A new trademark says, nah, but you know what, soulmates? We have all of that and so much more. This is our voice and our truth, so let's get it.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. We start today with news on Brittney Griner. The WNBA star has begun serving her 9-year prison sentence in a Russian penal colony. Now, Griner's lawyers say she has officially been transferred to a facility in Mordovia. That's about 200 miles outside of Moscow. Now, this comes after a Russian court rejected her appeal. Now, inmates where Griner is housed are required to work long hours for extremely low wages. Human rights groups say the living conditions are harsh and call them inhumane. Now, Griner's attorneys, they visited her last week and say she's doing as well as can be expected while trying to adapt to a new environment. Now, Griner was sentenced to 9 years in prison after being convicted of drug smuggling for having cannabis oil in her luggage. The Biden administration says they are still trying to negotiate a deal with Russia on a prison swap. You know, we have covered this story, relentlessly.
Yes.
We were hoping to not be here right now, but it seems as if Brittney is going to be there for some time. I wanted to look and see what the prison looked like where she's housed. Of course, it's an all-female facility for first-time offenders. It has over 800 inmates. And there are multiple reports of women being brutalized by fellow inmates, cruel wardens, inadequate medical facilities. Most of the women there, they were convicted of murder, assault. There are a number of more women who are coming with drug convictions. Brittney is considered one of the first to be there with that sort of conviction. And there was another woman, though. I found this interesting. There was another woman who was housed there, and she's now free, but she's been doing interviews, and she's been saying that some of the interviews were collapsing under the strain of the slavery-like conditions. Those were her words, slavery-like conditions. They were forced to work up to 17 hours a day, hungry, they were cold, they were working in below freezing temperatures and things like that. And so when you think of some of the things that she may be going through, our hearts just go out to her because I'm concerned of kind of where this prison swap is going, what's happening. The Biden administration said that they're still working on it, but Russia is kind of giving them a hard time. So that's where we are right now.
Definitely giving Russia is definitely giving them a hard time for sure. Like again, we were breaking this story as it was happening, and this is just so sad. A lot of people online are really saying that we're literally watching a black woman be a slave in 2022. And so because I too looked up the Russian Penal Colony just to get an idea of what we're dealing with here, and it is not a nice sight. There is no jail in America really that is a nice sight, but this right here is next level. In my deepest heart of my hearts, I really do believe that there is still hope for her to be released. I don't believe that she's going to serve the full 9 years. I just, in my heart, I don't believe that they're going to leave her here, but I do believe that there is some politics that's going on. And so I believe that Russia wants to prove, like, hey, we told you that we were capable of doing this. We're going to do it. And they're going forward with it. But I do believe that there's going to be some type of resolve. I don't believe she's going to serve 9 years. But I'm happy, too, that her lawyers were able to check in with her and see exactly how she's doing, because that right there, she can know how the outside world feels about her, know that we care about her, know that we're thinking about her. So hopefully that keeps her strong as the day goes on.
And you think about it, some people say she's pretty much being bullied in this situation, right? And if you think about the prison she's in, Russian female prisons, they say this about that place: if you haven't done time in Mordovia, you haven't done time at all. That's how bad they're saying this place is where she is. How will she be mentally when she finally is released? Whether it's months from now, whether it's years from now. You know, we still see the NBA pushing for her to be released. We see college, NCAA college female basketball teams, like just wearing T-shirts in her honor and keeping her name out there. So it's so important we continue to do that. But the real question is, how is she going to be mentally and physically when she finally comes home?
That's a really good question. And Demi, to your point, you said you were happy that her lawyers were able to check in on her, because in the very beginning when she was transferred to that prison, there were reports that no one knew where she was. So it's just good to know that they were able to check in with her and give us this report. So now we have an idea, you know, as bad as those conditions are, at least we know where she is.
You know, and some are saying that this type of prison is the closest to hell on earth. So we're definitely going to keep our tab on this story as it develops. Hundreds of people have gathered over the weekend to celebrate the life of Shanquella Robinson, the young lady who was killed while on vacation in Mexico with a group of her friends. Robinson went with 6 friends for a birthday celebration in October, but she never made it back to the States. Robinson was dead within 24 hours of getting off the plane. Now, her mother says that her daughter's friends initially said the 25-year-old died from alcohol poisoning, but the autopsy results, it told a different story, revealing Robinson had a broken neck and spinal cord injuries. A disturbing video has also been circulating showing her so-called friends attacking her on the vacation. The FBI has also launched an investigation into her death. I'm from Chicago, and there's a story, Kanika, because her last name is skipping me right now. Jenkins. Thank you. Kanika Jenkins. That was an untold mystery, that story, what happened to her, also with a group of friends. And so I'm really happy to hear that with this story, justice seems like it will be served for this mourning family of a 25-year-old blossoming. I saw a video of her father. I'm not sure if you guys got a chance to see her father. He's been doing interviews, and he literally said, you don't even know what you took from me. You have no idea. So much promise for this young woman, an entrepreneur, a business owner. And the video, I mean, I know we've all seen it, just completely heartbreaking to see those in the background asking her to fight back. That alone just breaks my heart I can't even imagine to know what this family is dealing with. So happy. I think everybody started rejoicing too, and they were like, okay, an investigation, FBI, because so many times we see stories like this just kind of fall by the wayside, no results. And so this, I feel like justice will be served for this young lady.
I mean, I definitely think at some point justice will be served, right? But there are just so many unanswered questions right now.
Yes, it is.
It's like they called the mom. I watched an interview that the mom did with Robin. Good Morning America. Yes. And she was just saying how they called her and they gave her different stories every different time. Every person said something different. They lied about alcohol poisoning. There was actually no alcohol found in her system. I mean, they let the maid find her. A friend had came home with her belongings, brought them to the mom while she was still there. You know, they said there was about a 15-minute window where she was dying after her neck was broke, and no one, like, they just let her die like that. You know, my mother always used to tell me that everyone is not your friend. And you have to remember that. Everyone is not your friend. And going on these trips, especially out of the country, you have to be really careful about who you're going with, because something like this, and one of the guys was supposedly her best friend. This is not best friend behavior. Someone went and sat with the mom for a while, and knowing that, you know, they know what happened to this young lady. They know, and I believe that someone's going to crack, right? Because there's 6 people. Everyone is not going to hold this tight. Someone's going to be offered a deal. Something's going to happen, and we're going to get the truth. And we haven't been given the truth. I don't believe we've been given the truth.
And if all 6 were not totally involved with it, someone has to say something eventually. We know that, like you said, someone's going to crack in this situation. But you are not parents, right, Mimi? So you think about this. You know, we were sitting there, and I'm looking at this story, and I'm thinking about Malachi. He gets older, maybe get a chance to go on a trip with his friends, his so-called friends, people that I know is going to have his back. But to see this video over and over again, and to see how they were treating her, and you claiming this is your friend, this is someone that you can trust, and then you're hearing that she pretty much fronted the Airbnb for them. I'm hearing this allegation that she pretty much paid for that. They took cash from her. Like, there sounds like there's a lot of jealousy involved in this situation. Well, I think we all can agree on that, but there's more to it. But as a parent, to have to continue to talk about this and do interviews every day, I lost a child. I know how that feels. Like, your life has changed forever, and we definitely want justice in this situation.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah.
We do know that they're investigating, as you mentioned, Demi, and so hopefully something will come from this. I think everyone who participated in this and is still hiding the truth needs to be extradited back to Mexico and serve their time definitely in Mexico.
Yes. On to another sad story. Thousands of people came together over the weekend to remember 3 University of Virginia students fatally shot on campus. We're talking about family, friends, and classmates gathered to grieve and honor the lives of Devin Chandler, Lavelle Davis Jr., and Deshaun Perry, the 3 football players who were killed when another student opened fire on a bus full of students returning from a field trip. The service also paid tribute to Mike Hollins and Marley Morgan, 2 students who were wounded in the attack. The suspect, Christopher Darnell Jones, is being held without bond. Now, a witness says he targeted the victims as they slept on the bus. An outside special counsel will now review the shooting. We all know about this story. We've seen what happened. We know they canceled the football game, which I think was big for a university, because when it comes to sports university, that's a money thing for them. So I'm glad that they said, look, we're not going to have a game. We're going to honor these young men, and we're going to celebrate their lives, okay, instead of playing football. The basketball team didn't have a game, but even at their game, they and their opponent, they celebrated the life of these 3 players. And, so young.
Yeah.
So much in store for them to be taken away. So many questions that these parents want to know the answers to.
Absolutely. I mean, to just, these 2 stories back to back, just so much loss, all in the span of a couple of weeks. Young children. There was another story of a young lady who was on the bus. And when you think about it, thankfully, I've never had to go through a situation like this where there was an active shooter nearby, but she was telling the story about how she literally, with life-saving tactics that she never even knew about, but that just naturally kicked in for her to save her life, how she hid under a blanket and just stayed still and tried to save her life because she wasn't sure if she was going to die next. Just imagine going to college somewhere where you're supposed to seek higher education, and then something like this happens where your life comes to a halt. I couldn't even imagine the type of violation that you would feel going back into that bus, going back into a classroom after some type of tragedy like this happens. And so another story just back to back from Shanquella Robinson that hopefully these families get justice. I can't imagine another story. Cannot imagine what these families are going through.
I think both of these stories, there's so much mystery surrounding the whys behind both of these stories, because authorities have not released a motive for this story. They are still searching for that. And a lot of people, I know that the dad, he did an interview and he said that the young man was bullied, but there's no proof of that. And from all accounts, from all the witnesses that they spoke to, that they said that the shooter was kind of a loner and he was to himself a lot. And so, and the fact that he played on the football team, I think he played on the football team in 2018, but all of them never even played together. So they're just really trying to figure out what was the motive. What is the connection? Why would he just go on this bus and shoot people while they're sleeping in the head? It is so very sad. And so they're just trying to figure out what they're going to do about going forward with the shooter and the families, and we hope that there's justice that they all get from this. All right, and Congressman Hakeem Jeffries is throwing his hat in the ring to replace outgoing Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi as the Speaker of the House. The Democrat from New York has been seen as Pelosi's successor and appears to have the support of the party. If successful, Jeffries would be the first black person to lead a party in Congress. The 52-year-old has served in the House since 2013 and is currently the House Caucus Chairman. Now, last week, Speaker Pelosi confirmed her departure of nearly 20 years as Speaker.
Elon Musk says former President Trump's Twitter account will be reinstated almost 2 years after it was dropped in the aftermath of the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol. This as a tweet Musk wrote, quote, "The people have spoken. Trump will be reinstated." The announcement was made shortly after Musk created a poll asking its users whether the former president should be allowed back on the platform. Before Musk purchased Twitter, the company permanently banned Trump for inciting violence during the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol.
3 former Philadelphia police officers who were charged with killing an 8-year-old girl after opening fire in a crowd have pled guilty to 10 counts of reckless endangerment. The shooting happened after 2 teenagers fired shots at each other outside a football game. The officers heard the shots and fired into the crowd. Phan's ability was struck by 25 bullets, one of the 25 bullets fired by the officer. The 2 teenagers who fired the initial shots were originally charged with Bellidi's murder, but those charges were later dropped.
And black mayors will soon lead the 4 largest U.S. cities after Karen Bass is sworn in as the new mayor of Los Angeles. The New York City mayor, Chicago mayor, Houston, and LA, each of those cities will be overseen by black leaders after Congresswoman Karen Bass is sworn in on December 12th. As you may know, Eric Adams was voted mayor of New York City in November of 2021. Mayor Lori Lightfoot was elected by Chicago voters in 2019, and Mayor Sylvester Turner has held the role in Houston since 2016. Now, Bass, who has served 6 years in Congress, is the latest among an increasing wave of black women who have in recent years been elected to mayoral positions and other government roles.
And a Texas middle school teacher who was captured on video telling black students that he believes his race is superior no longer works at that school.
Deep down in my heart, I'm ethnocentric, which means I think my race is the superior one. No, let me finish.
White is better than all.
No, let me finish. I think everybody thinks that, they're just not honest about it.
Hey, I'm not racist, though. I like all types of colors.
Did I say I don't like
The 8th graders in the class, they say that they were floored and confused by the statement. They say this all began after a classmate entered the room wearing a Black Lives Matter sticker on his shirt, and the teacher made him remove it. This is insane. You know, first things first, happy that this teacher no longer works at the school. Happy that the students spoke up because, I mean, honestly, imagine not saying anything in a story like this, a teacher saying comments like this, and it just goes under the water. So I'm really happy that the students stood up for what they believe in, knowing that there was right from wrong. So many times, I remember we've talked before, and we're like, you know what, they're young kids, they don't know right from wrong. Yes, they do. The young kids, they have TikTok, they have Instagram, and they know what is right and what is wrong. And these students were like, hey, this is wrong. Let me say something. I mean, honestly, even if it was a joke, even it doesn't matter. You saying this, there's some deep-rooted racism that he believes this deeply in his soul. So I don't want anyone to say that he was joking, trying to be funny. This man means this, and it just came out. It came out, and I don't know what kind of way, what made it come out, but it came out, and that's how he really feels.
Yeah, you know.
I think he meant it to being a racist, unless I heard it wrong. But I think as the conversation went on, he said something about admitting to being a racist. But, you know, here's the thing of white privilege is that the cameras are rolling, right? Did he not know he was on camera? But you feel like you can say these sort of things, and it's not going to go anywhere. This day and age with social media, you never know what the littlest recording that you think no one is paying attention to will take where it will go. It can take legs and go viral. And so just like this did, I'm sure he didn't expect this little recording in his 8th grade classroom to turn into this.
When I think about those students, I think about like Black Lives Matter, right? When we had that whole movement, you just didn't have black people. You had white, you had Asian, Latinos, and that's what I feel like when a classroom comes together. Our young generation, they do get it. So we can't undermine it. We can't think they don't absolutely see what's going on. And for them to come together and be like, look, we're all on the same page. We're all in disagreement of what this teacher is saying, what he is representing, and we want him out. And I think this is a great move, and maybe other teachers can learn from this. And at the end of the day, I applaud those students there for sure.
Yeah. You know, and to the conversation of, he says I'm ethnocentric, because that also started to stir, like, what is ethnocentrism? And so pretty much it's the evaluation of a culture, pretty much saying, like he said, that he feels like he's better than everybody. But I know everybody was like, what is ethnocentric? Because I've never really heard ethnocentric. Ethnocentrism was never really a conversation until now, too. So I guess he taught us a phrase, but in the meantime made himself look like a complete idiot.
Yeah, agree. All right, well, Young Thug and Gunna will be held to trial in January, or more than 300 witnesses are expected to be called to the stand. According to the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, the rappers are among 28 people charged in a street gang indictment against their Stoner Life record label. Prosecutors believe the group is largely to blame for some of the crime in Atlanta. The judge in the case rejected a motion from the prosecution to push the trial back to March and ordered jury selection to start on January the 5th. He says the fact that most of the defendants have not been granted bond and had a right to a speedy trial influenced his decision. Young Thug, whose real name is Jeffrey Williams, and Gunna, whose real name is Sergio Kitchens, are accused of conspiring to violate the RICO Act. The prosecution has cited their song lyrics, music videos, and social media posts as evidence in the high-profile case.
And a South Columbus high school student in North Carolina is in a lot of trouble over a video of them saying the N-word. A spokesperson for Columbus County Schools said the male student was disciplined, but no specifics have been given. Now, in the video, the unidentified student walks around and says, "I'm with the N-word, down with the N-word," then raises his right fist and chants, "White power, white power." School officials have denounced the incident. The town of Columbus County, though, has been dealing with an uptick of racist incidents. A couple of months ago, Sheriff Jody Green was caught on tape making a racist remark about black staff. Green has since resigned from his position.
2 Los Angeles County deputies will not be criminally charged in the shooting death of a black cyclist. You may remember this story. We brought it to you a few months ago, Soulmates. So the story goes like this. The officers fired over 16 rounds. Dejon Kizzy, who bystanders say was lying on the ground. The family is now suing the county for $35 million. Kizzy was riding his bike in the opposite direction of traffic when deputies tried to stop him for a traffic violation. Police say that he dropped the bike and ran away while holding a bundle of towels, hiding a firearm. In a document obtained by the LA Times, prosecutors say the deputies had probable cause to believe force was necessary to defend themselves. Unfortunately, no video footage of the incident could pinpoint whether Kizzy was holding a gun because, well, deputies didn't begin wearing body camera footage until after the incident.
Well, federal prosecutors have announced an investigation into whether the police department in Massachusetts routinely uses excessive force or discriminates against residents based on race or gender. The civil investigation into the Worcester Police Department will review how the agency addresses misconduct complaints and discipline, how it reviews department policies, as well as how officers interact with the public. City leaders have pledged their full cooperation with the investigation. Worcester is about 40 miles west of Boston. It is roughly 200,000 residents. 23% is Hispanic, 13% is black. The U.S. Attorney's Office did not point to any specific incidents, but in April, a black man sued the city and 5 officers saying he was wrongfully charged with murder based on his race and what his attorneys called fabricated evidence.